I cleaned out my late grandmother's kitchen and discovered she'd been lying to our family for 40 years. My grandmother Rose was famous in 3 counties for her apple pie, that flaky crust, the perfect balance of cinnamon and nutmeg. Every Thanksgiving she'd smile mysteriously when relatives begged for the recipe. Family secret, I'll take it to my grave. We thought she was joking. When she passed away last month at 94, they volunteered to clean out her kitchen. Grandma had lived alone since Hayes died, stubbornly independent in the farmhouse where she'd raised 5 children behind her ancient refrigerator. Behind her ancient refrigerator I found a wooden recipe box. Water-stained and dusty inside were handwritten index cards, parrot recipes for everything she'd ever made. We gowned her legendary apple pie, but something seemed off about the card. It was newer than the others, the handwriting shakier. I flipped it over and froze on the back in my grandmother's unmistakable cursive. Marie's recipe burnt better than mine. Don't tell the family, Marie. The name sounded familiar. Then it hit me, Pert Marie Jenkins, her next-door neighbor for decades, the quiet widow everyone called Poor Marie because she had no children. The woman who always sat alone at community functions while everyone crowded around my grandmother. I called my mom immediately, who was Marie Jenkins, to Graham along silence. Then they were best friends as girls, had some falling out before you were born. Why I found my aunt next to Brahma's oldest daughter when I mentioned Marie's name, her voice tightened. Marie claimed Brahma stole her pie recipe after they both entered the county fair in 1978. Ridiculous accusation. I stared at the recipe card. 1978, the year my grandmother won the blue ribbon that launched her local baking fame. That night I baked 2 pies, one following Germain's official recipe that she'd occasionally share, missing key ingredients, I now realized, and one following Marie's recipe from the hidden card. The difference was unmistakable at the memorial service the next weekend. An elderly woman approached me, leaning heavily on a cane. You must be Rose's granddaughter. I am Marie. My heart pounded as I introduced myself. Marie's eyes were clear and kind. No bitterness. Your grandmother brought me soup every Wednesday for 40 years, she said. Never missed a week, even when her arthritis got bad. Left it on the porch with wildflowers if I wasn't home. I nearly dropped my punch cup, even after the pie situation. Marie looked confused. What pie situation? That evening I brought Marie the second pie I'd baked, Pert her recipe, her eyes filled with tears as she took a bite. Rose made this for me every year on my birthday, she whispered. Said it was my recipe, but I always thought she was just being kind. The truth emerged slowly over teacups at Marie's kitchen table. There was never a theft. My grandmother had accidentally submitted Marie's recipe at the fair after they'd exchanged recipe cards at a church social. By the time she realized her mistake, she'd won. Too proud to admit the error and too ashamed to confess, she'd created a 40-year deception pernt, while quietly trying to make amends every Wednesday with soup and wildflowers. When I cleaned out Marie's kitchen after her passing 3 months later, she'd left everything to me. Having no family, I found dozens of empty soup containers, each one washed and saved, and pressed between the pages of her Bible, 40 years of dried wildflowers. Sometimes the lies we tell reveal more truth about us than our honesty ever could. My grandmother wasn't perfect, pernt, but her imperfection taught me that how we make amends matters more than the mistakes we make. Next Thanksgiving, I'll be baking Marie's pie, and finally sharing the real recipe.